Beneath the quiet stones of St. Mary Magdalene, the air seems to hold a memory of suffering. Founded in the 12th century as part of a hospital, this chapel was never meant for the healthy or the powerful. It was built for those who were feared, for the men and women whose bodies betrayed them in ways the world could neither understand nor tolerate. Here, the lepers came, the afflicted, their skin and flesh slowly consumed by disease, their faces collapsed, their fingers blackened, their bodies a map of human fragility. The chapel itself is austere, built from rough Norman stone. Its windows are small, its roof simple, its purpose practical and unadorned. It was part of a network of hospital foundations across medieval England, established to care for the sick, the poor, and the socially abandoned. Life within these walls moved to a slow, cruel rhythm, governed by prayer, straw bedding, and the tolling of a wooden bell that once announced the presence of the lepers to the surrounding countryside. That bell, hollow and plaintive, warned the healthy to keep their distance. For the afflicted, it marked each step, each journey through a world that feared their very existence. Leprosy was a slow and merciless disease, striking the poor and the marginalised with cruel precision. Its victims were visible, marked by sores, rotting flesh, by the subtle collapse of bones over time. They were forced to wear special clothing and often carried wooden clappers or bells as they walked, announcing themselves to the world as it might forget their presence otherwise. Both diseases demanded isolation. Both carried death as their inevitable companion. There was no cures, only prayers, poultices, and the fragile ministrations of priests, nuns, and hospital brothers who dared to touch what others would not. The Black Death, which struck Europe in 1347 to 1351, was caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis. It was carried primarily by fleas on black rats, which infested ships, homes, and towns. The disease could also spread through respiratory droplets in the former bubonic plague, making it extremely contagious. Symptoms included painful, swollen lymph nodes called buboes, usually in the groin, armpits, or the neck. Also included high fever, chills, vomiting, and headaches. Black patches on the skin caused by internal bleeding and tissue death, which likely inspired the term Black Death. Life within St. Mary Magdalene continued in the shadow of these diseases. With the chapel, a narrow slit in the stone allowed the afflicted to glimpse the altar, to kneel in prayer, without crossing the threshold. They could participate in rituals from the margins. Hermits sometimes used similar slits for solitude and devotion, but for lepers the window was both mercy and a reminder, a fragile link to a faith in a world that had abandoned them. The walls themselves were witness to suffering, the slow decay of bodies, the whispered prayers of those who hoped for release, the solemn ritual of food, bread, and water delivered by hands that would not recoil at disease. The hospital and chapel were not only places of exclusion. They were microcosms of medieval life, where the sick and the marginalised were both cared for and segregated. Here, the rhythm of the day was dictated by liturgy and survival. Meals were simple, straw-bedded, rough, and yet even in such deprivation, a sense of order persisted. Records show that lepers were sometimes permitted to cultivate small gardens, to perform humble tasks, and to participate in the rites of the church through these narrow symbolic channels. Their lives were marked by monotony and misery, but also by resilience and devotion. History remembers this chapel not in grandeur, but in quiet persistence. St Mary Magdalene survived centuries of decay, the ravages of war and the slow encroachment of time, just as it witnessed the suffering of those who passed through its doors. The wooden bell once tolled across the fields, all a reminder to the world beyond of the fragility of the human body and the presence of death. Today, its stones still echo the shuffle of straw-strewn floors, the prayers whispered from narrow windows, and the silent testimony of those who endured in darkness. The story of leprosy, the plague, and the life of this chapel is a story of exclusion, survival, and resilience. It's a story written not in triumph, but in shadow, in stone, in suffering, and in the enduring silence of St Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is such a beautiful church, a small church, and I think it's probably not on the tourist hotspots. So if you get the opportunity to visit and let the history soak into your very being and think of all those people who suffered and found heaven in a small location within this church.